Going to get into everything in a moment. I'm sitting down, so I'm trying to sit straight. You notice in my videos, I try to stay as straight as possible so I don't lose my voice. That's part of what I'm dealing with. I have a little bit of swelling here, so I was leaning like this with my other hand, and you can see how swollen it is because it's in my skin. So what they're doing is they are trying to predict my behavior, and I talked about this in another video, so that partially so that they can create this AI. And they said that they wanted to make it like game theory, because if you can predict what they call me the enemy, what the enemy is going to do before the enemy does it, then you have a better chance of, I guess, winning. And I used to say that these types of people believe in a zero-sum world where in order for them to win, someone else has to lose. So it's always about them winning, me losing. That's why the criticisms are so important. I just uploaded a video that I'm going to say everybody does that. Because what they wanted to do is come up with a psychological evaluation of me and be able to manipulate me in different circumstances. And that's what I'm saying about predicting behavior. If you can say, for example, I'm going to do blah, 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 and they would know it before I do it, they would be able to make sure they have a setup for me. They would know what time I'm going to do something, when I'm going to do something. And it's hard as a regular person to not do the same things over and over again. It's not like I'm somebody who would be able to constantly change my routine. And that's why when they're trying to say they're predicting behavior, they really aren't predicting behavior. They just looked at me for this since I think about 2016 and wrote down what I normally do. And for example, they'll say, okay, she's about to do something, and that's something I normally do. It doesn't always work. So I told you in another video that they thought this was going to be such a cool thing. They could tell someone, oh, she's going to rub her eye. But it's really them manipulating the circumstance for the physical by doing something that would cause my eye for me to rub my eye. Or they would say, oh, she's going to lean her head this way. Well, that's what I would normally do. The other part of that is the setup. So the setup is, how do we manipulate somebody into doing what we want them to do when we want that person to do it? Well, that comes into the psychological assessment. So one of the things they said they observed about me was that I tend to help people. And they were going to come up with ways to manipulate me. And I told you I had a lot of times, not just a lot, many, many, many times where people on the street would seek me out of everyone and ask me a question. Well, that I thought was okay until it became not okay. And that's my point when you're dealing with things. You know, when they're talking about things in my life, I'm 49. They would have to go back to the 1970s. So when they're like, haven't you ever, or didn't you once, it's 49 years of stuff. And when they can't give the right dates, even years, you know they weren't doing this on a regular basis. That's my point with this. Had they been doing it on a regular basis by now, this wouldn't be a big deal. It's a big deal because it's just such a dramatic change in my life. And that's my point. When you have a dramatic change in your life, it's so obvious to everybody that this wasn't happening all the time. But the biggest thing I've been telling you is that there would have to be so many people. Think of if in a 49 years, I interact with 10 people. That's 490 people who would be involved. Multiply that by how many people I probably interacting with. There would be millions of people involved. There were not millions of people observing this. The people who did observe this gave me a look like, what the hell is this? It's like watching something that who has the money, the time, and the desire to do it? Well, somebody who benefits from it, not just financially benefit, but benefits from it in another way. And that's my point about this. So when they're trying to predict my behavior, they're trying to predict it not only to try to win, but to stop me from trying to win. So it works out for them that if I stop trying, period, they win. I can't stop trying. So they spend 24/7 all day and all night talking and banging and coming up with ideas so that I stop trying. And they said, well, we thought people would believe us over you. That's what they thought. That's what they thought. So when you're talking to people who think that way, there's no reason to have game theory. Game theory doesn't work with people who have a zero-sum mindset because they must win. And I used to think that, well, they'll move on. They can't. They fixate. And that's why I did a whole series called Fixation. They fixate on what they lost. And I'm going to try to explain that in a way. They can't move past their losses. I lose all the time. Most of us do. And we're like, we lose. These people fixate and they keep trying and trying. It's like they and they will destroy themselves in the end. They end up destroying themselves. Thanks for watching.